Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing, Wednesday, July 8th. Again, we're going to see a trend of above normal temperatures getting warmer and actually hotter by the weekend. We'll still continue with thunderstorms, although they'll be kind of shifting over to eastern areas and decreasing in coverage and pretty much disappearing for a while by the end of the week. We'll also see some gusty winds of 20 to 30 miles an hour in various parts of the area, especially critical in areas that did receive recent lightning along with ongoing large fires. Most of our fuels, 90th to 97th percentile in the southern half or even southern two-thirds of our area in the north, will be drying out very rapidly next couple of days. So again, on the impact map, a mix of wet and dry storms, maybe a little wetter in some spots, but not overly wet. Shifting to the east, we have areas of gusty winds both in the south and the west today. And you see the first wave of hot weather pushing in Thursday and Friday. Thunderstorms will be really diminishing coverage Thursday, totally out of it by Friday, and then we still have belts of winds up in the Snake River Plain. Tomorrow could be a concern for the Claremont fire and some other new starts, as well as winds in our far southern areas in the vicinity of large incidents. Looking at our satellite imagery, a bit more in the way of clear skies. The cloud cover that's been over us for quite a while now starting to lift out, but it's still some stuff over northern Nevada, and this area will all fill in with the daytime heating. So we expect to see a lot more cloud cover by 4 p.m. this afternoon with thunderstorms, especially in the east. Quite a bit of lightning yesterday in many areas. See through here. This is going to be a problem as we get much hotter and drier in the coming days. You can see on the left there was some precipitation with it, maybe a couple hundredths to a tenth. Some spots maybe a quarter of an inch, enough to keep it at bay for 2 or 3 days. But when we get a prolonged hot, dry pattern, that's going to be a problem. Precipitation the past 7 days, not that much, really waning up in the north. We did have some heavy rains up in the north about 9-10 days ago, and that has really been tapering off, and it's been bone dry further south. And the southern half of the areas where we have a lot more IA given by those new fire starts in the red, 27 new fires. Nothing big just yet. The humidity is high enough. A lot of these were lightning strikes that came with some rain, but we'll have to watch this as we go into later in the period. ERCs going through the roof in southern and eastern areas, 90th to 97th, even the 99th percentile in some of these red areas. And we're starting to see 80th to 90th percentile get into much of Idaho and Wyoming at the present time. A few areas, looking down south in the Dixie, you can see that ERCs current and projected are supposed to go up to between the 97th and 98th percentile at record levels. No surprise there, given the fuel and fire behavior advisory. But in Wyoming, very rapid warming. This is where we currently are. We're near the 85th percentile or so, but we expect to see ERCs surge past the 90th, 97th, and maybe even 99th percentile up there by the end of the period. High pressure off the Baja, off the Southern California coast, that is kind of ripping apart any monsoonal moisture in the short term. The high will kind of drift off the Southern California coast, maybe move just south of Vegas by Friday. But again, that clockwise flow will steer any Mexican moisture out to sea before it swings it northward. So we'll be in the dry air. We have high risk for wind, marginal winds, but in the area of current large fires, so that's a concern. We have burn environment for that area on Thursday. Very hot, dry weather, locally breezy. Maybe some winds right along our southern border, but we just get calm, more of a calm wind and very hot, very dry pattern by the end of the week. You can see the winds in the dark green and orange the next couple of days, mostly in the south, a little bit off the Sierra front, to keep an eye on that. Also some breezes coming in into the Snake River Plain. Not overly strong, but for the Claremont fire and some other incidents that could be critical. See the humidity really starting to dry out across much of the area over the next couple of days. Precipitation today, again, confined a little bit further north. We'll probably see a few specks in eastern Utah as well, but starts dissipating Thursday and kind of vanishes Friday. Now, on Saturday, the high-pressure ridge builds over the area. We have a clockwise flow, and you see some of the monsoonal moisture finally starting to get pulled up, but it's well to our west, off the Pacific coast. It starts swinging into parts of California on Sunday, and by Monday, as the high shifts from central Utah up into the Dakotas, that may be, it's not the four corners high, but it's enough of a shift to start edging some of that quasi-monsoonal moisture, for lack of a better term, up into the southern and western portions of the Great Basin. And this will be after some very hot, dry weather. So the initial push of lightning could cause some significant IA. We also have the wind high risk up here in the Idaho mountains, kind of a combination of this low up here and the high. We can see that here on the deeper dive of the winds and the humidity up in those areas. And it's kind of a tricky area because it's been fairly moist there in the last 2 weeks, but they've been drying out rapidly and will continue drying out into the weekend. Then lighter winds through the period, and we stay dry. You notice the humidity starts coming up a little bit on Monday. It's some of that moisture starts coming in from the south and west, so that could be a lightning type of a pattern. We'll have to wait and see on that. I see we're dry, but we start seeing some of that moisture and some of that lightning and shower activity pushing into Nevada and the Arizona Strip late in the period. Models have been very tricky on the extended forecast. I wouldn't hang my hat on it just yet. We will see a significant warm up from today's high temperatures, which are already about 5 degrees above normal. They will bump up another 4 to 7 degrees from those points as we go into Saturday. A lot of hundreds in some of the lower valleys. So summing things up on the 7-day map, we have wind high risk today in some areas. Wind in the south and kind of a burn environment with hot, dry, unstable, and some breezy conditions near fires on Thursday. Some wind on Friday in the south and some wind up in the Idaho mountains on Saturday, and just hot and dry. We may have to issue some high risk for that first wave of lightning towards early next week. We'll wait and see how the models resolve themselves on it. And the long-range models are continuing to show a push of monsoonal moisture from the south. So some lightning initially, but if we get a couple of days of that with higher humidity, that could take the edge off some of the current fires burning in our southern areas. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.